Welcome back, everyone, to episode 6, and what is going to be the last episode of our Twisted Tales of Spike McFang extended look / complete playthrough. In the previous episode, we started our journey into the jungle maze, where I had to learn a very specific path all the way through to get to the first boss that we fought towards the end of the game here, a big plant monster named Moray. We beat him fairly easily. I mean, I did lose a little bit of health that we had to consume a couple of tomato juice cards to recover. However, after that, we made our way into the final dungeon of the game, which was about as complex as a straight path up like 2 screens to the first of the 2 bosses that we fight at the end of the game, Hydra, who we beat, and then we went and tried our hand at Von Hesler himself, who kicked my ass. So, in between the last episode and this one, I have gone ahead and maxed out my character. As you can see on the screen here, my experience points are at max. I cannot earn another level from this point forward, so this is as strong as Spike is going to get. We have absolutely nothing else that we can do in order to level up or strengthen our character, and we're taking all the health that I can into the boss fight for this one. What I can do just to make the trip there a little bit easier is I can abuse the time cards because they don't work against bosses, so you might as well use them now. Or the hat if I need to, just to get away from enemies. We'll save the Invisi card. The Invisi card was actually pretty useful against Von Hesler to do damage without taking any back from him, so that could be of value to us. But the time card, and in fact the animal card as well, would probably be useful. Those are our only options, basically, for getting past enemies without taking damage at this point, so we'll just go ahead and burn them as we get to each screen, just to keep enemies out of the way. Alright, so it's right. Get them out of the way. Right. Oh. Do it again. Up. Alright, so it doesn't work screen to screen. We may want to just, whoop, come on. Right, up, left. I need to go left here. Oh! Discard. Yeah. Left. Down. Left. Up. No reason wasting our time fighting these guys. They can't give us anything that we can use anymore. There's nothing I can buy. There's no point in getting the experience, and all I would be trying to earn is health that I don't need because I'm at max, so yeah, we might as well just save the cards here and use them like so. Left, up. Right, up. Cool. All right, so we're going into this with as much health as I possibly can carry. All right, up, and then just go up again, and we're done. Made it. All right. So, let's do this. I would say this would be a good time to use the companion cards against Hydra. We'll save here. Probably not going to be the longest episode in the world. I don't think it's going to be that hard to beat Hydra since I'm over-leveled for her. I think Von Hesler is where we're really going to have trouble, so I want to save before Hydra, and depending on how much health I lose or have to burn up with cards, we may restart the fight if it gets really bad, so here we go. We're not going to do the voices anymore. I'm kind of spent on it. And frankly, this game, disappointing. So I don't know if it's worth trying to do the voices. It was fun for the first couple of episodes. Now we're at the end of the game, and it's like, well, some of the design here just has not satisfied or lived up to the standard in my head that I had of the game. So finally, what took you so long? It's the stranger from the ice cave. What are you doing here? Yeah, so of course, like it wasn't obvious, she was just trying to play Von Hesler and the heroes against each other so that she could take over in either Von Hesler's death or my own. And yeah, big surprise. Who cares? You're not really a tough guy. And this story was not deep enough to really earn this kind of twist. It just didn't work out. Okay, come on. Go get it. Oh yeah, I'm really starting to wail on her now. The danger of over-leveling in this game is it just made this boss fight trivial. Look at that. I didn't take a single hit of any substance in this fight. She didn't even damage me. I took one hit, but I didn't take any damage from it. Not enough that they would count it. Not bad. Perhaps it wasn't luck that got you this far, but now I will summon the power of Mandra and finish you off. What the hell is Mandra? It's a brand of cat food! I didn't even need to use my cards here. And... no, it's over. Oh, I've lost my power. How could this happen? It's all over, Hydra. You have no more magic to conjure. Release the islands and our families. If you want to save Vladamasco, you'll have to defeat Von Hesler, your father, Rudy. My father is innocent. An evil force is controlling him. Yada, yada, yada. Let's find your father. Maybe I'll pick up the voices at the end of the game. Kind of annoyed that I had to play through this part again just because the game really doesn't give you a chance to level up at this point. You get to this spot here, either you're turning your ass back around and walking all the way back to Professor Steam, or using a transport card, which I really did not have to use at any point during this game except while I was leveling up. But yeah, it's I hate to say it, but I'm very deflated as to how this game turned out. I thought it was going to be much better than it actually was. I don't know. Well, I don't think we have to worry about how much health we're going into this with. It just was not as hard as I thought it was going to be. We'll get the back card and whatnot ready. May not even need that. Let's just go ahead and try the regular fight. We'll go and burn a card here. If I need to heal, I'll heal. I have been waiting for you, young adventurers. I didn't even know who I was. One of those weird things about video games that they never really have a good explanation for is, how did he know any of what I was doing? Did he have like some magic sphere or like crystal ball or something that could see everything that was happening in the kingdom where he wasn't actually at? In any sense of the word, he didn't have spies that you could visibly see following us around and then reporting back. He just somehow knew. It's one of those weird conceits that games just, well, not just games, but like TV shows, like probably help push that silly trope more than anything else. When you were a kid and you were watching a serialized TV show where every episode was just a new adventure that didn't seem connected to the previous one, and the bad guy knows everything that was happening the whole time, and they don't really have a good explanation for it. This game just kind of falls into that series of bad design choices for the story. You will go down in defeat in the name of Owasa. Still no explanation for who Owasa is. Alright, well, we're not doing terrible damage, just not great. We'll save the big hitting cards for later in the fight when we get to the second phase. Oh yeah, look at that. Big hits. Got him. Big hit. Oh yeah, yeah. Yes. Big hits. Love it. Rudy, get in there and do something to your father. There we go. All right, second phase. This is where we'll probably have more problems doing damage. Not only that, but I think he's about to level up to 16. All right, we'll pick up the voices here. I don't know who's saying this. We'll pretend it was Spike. Something is happening. Your power is nothing compared to mine. Behold my true form, and prepare to be destroyed. Ran out of air. Incredible! No more Mr. Nice Guy! You're a history creep! Try to stop me. Let's go! Acting, thank you. All right, pick something good. I'll chase after him with an angel card first. Go get him. Uh-oh. Oh, the game didn't know what to do with the music, so it froze. Oh, the angel's rocking his world. Yes. I was hoping the game broke and just left it on screen the rest of the game. Good. Hit him up. Love it. I love it. Screw you. I'll just cheese my way through the end of the game. Keep standing in place. That's it. Be an idiot. All right, one more. I think that's my last one. I guess we gotta find out. Either it is the last one or close to the last one. Ah, damn it. Alright, let's see how much the game will let me take a goddamn turn. There we go. Son of a bitch! Stop fireballing me or I'm gonna call Angel on you again, bitch. Alright, go get him. Yep, that's game. Probably don't even need to do anything else. He'll just finish him off. Or get real close. Done. That's game. It's weird. The level balance for how much damage you do level to level is probably not well balanced. Because just 2 levels below this, I could barely damage him. And then I gained 2 extra levels to come into this fight a little better prepared. And it wasn't even a challenge. I don't think they got the balance right. I think they should have made it maybe go to 30 if you want to keep it a low level for newer players or younger players, and then make it so that enemies give you a little more experience, but you still have to grind your way up to those higher levels if you really want to be a challenge, really want the fight not to be that much of a challenge. Here, this guy was a pushover. I didn't even need my health cards. I don't think they got the balance right. I have underestimated your abilities, but there is still someone I can turn on you. Uh-oh, is it my dad? Who was he talking about? Oh, no, that was... shoot. That was Rudy. Camelia! He's going to hypnotize her into fighting us. Oh, no! Smack your dad. Pop, 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 pop. We probably should move a little more urgency, but, you know, I'm having fun. I can't catch him! Get back here, jerk! I think the game's over at this point. We're just playing out a little bit of a plot point. Yeah, I'm not even controlling it at this point. Ah! That's Camelia. It's Camelia! He must have gotten to her! I am the ruler of Vladamasco! I think she just beat him herself. Camelia? Don't be fooled! The creature is controlling her! Not anymore. What's going on? This menace won't give us any more trouble. How did you do it, Camelia? Wow. It's over now. The land is safe. We can now live in peace. What an adventure. Let's continue to work together for the future of this island, of the islands, whatever. As a team, we will be unstoppable. with many future sequels to come. Or not. Wait, money. Yeah, there you go. The game did that for me. I love it. Nice gag. We don't even get to see his dad as a normal vampire, or my dad. There we go. I guess that's Rudy. Father, how did this happen? I can't believe you let the creature control you. It was a strange experience, son. This is his good version. At the time I realized that something was wrong. He had taken over my mind. Well, it's all over now. Yes, and you have proven yourself as a worthy heir to the Von Hesler crown. I gotta speed this up. Thank you, Father. Well, there's Camelia with a mother that she never met. This was quite an ordeal. Oh, I don't know who's talking. Camelia, you handled it very well. We all did well. Spike and Rudy are both great fighters. Thanks to all of you, the islands of Vladamasco are safe. Now we must rebuild the lands. Ah, jeez. Someday, Camelia, you will make a fine ruler of the Vampra Kingdom. All right, so that was her family kingdom. We never met this lady. Thank you, Mother. Let's go home. To your Russian palace? I think that's where they came from. Oh, we met Dad, I guess, finally. Spike, I didn't expect you to do so well. You've grown up. Thank you, Father. You have proven yourself well as a worthy prince of Batland. I don't know who's talking again. Spike, I'm proud of you. Someday you will be the king. Rudy, Camelia, and I are all ready to do our duty for the land. In time, you will do just that. But for now, you are still my little boy. Oh, Mom, again, who's talking? Be clearer with this stuff. Oh, God. Whatever. All right, game's over. Look, this could have been a better experience. I think that much is clear, and I don't have to explain why. It was very shallow and a short experience. And I'm very surprised by what I remember of the game being dramatically different than what we actually saw during the playthrough here. So, anyway, let's go ahead and wrap things up. We'll do the review phase like we would any other game that I used to own. I didn't actually own this as a kid. I just rented it a bunch of times and only recently picked it up, but we'll go into that into the final thoughts here. All right, let's do a round of the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good is that graphically, this is a very cute, clean-looking, colorful game, even for a Super Nintendo game. I think they did a great job with the color balance in this one. As this was a game designed to appeal to first-time RPG players, kids, essentially, the presentation fit the purpose perfectly. While the story is not exactly a tour de force of creativity, the world's design conceit of having basically movie monsters living as just everyday citizens is certainly original, which is a breath of fresh air considering how many RPGs kind of fall into the same high fantasy trope-laden design bucket. I appreciate the choice to make pressing the attack button too quickly cause a debilitating period of dizziness. Again, we're talking about a game that was aimed at kids, so it teaches them to be more strategic with their attacks, not to just flail on the attack button. The boss fights are mostly well done, I say mostly, and we'll get into the caveat to that in the bad. They all have big dynamic attacks and typically had second phases, which was still kind of a novel idea when this game came out. I had a lot of fun learning the desert route's attack patterns and beating it after getting the hang of that fight's flow. Again, I think part of the issue there was I was pretty underleveled when I got to that area of the game, and I didn't take any time to level up. But, that was just on me, and ultimately I had a lot of fun doing the fight, even though I was kind of at a relatively low level for it. Some of the moment-to-moment traversal gimmicks, were very clever. Having an Easter Island man punch Spike so hard that he blasts through a wall that was blocking your progress was genuinely funny. When you fall into the moat and you have to have your pet dinosaur thing pull you out of the water and throw you onto the next ledge was also pretty clever. I will say a lot of those gimmicky ideas started at the beginning of the game and not so much at the end, and we'll go into the problem there in a couple of seconds. The magic cards were a nice touch, and they add some variety to Spike's arsenal beyond the standard cape and hat attacks, even if I would have appreciated a more straightforward way of acquiring them, and we'll get to that in the bad here. As far as the bad, despite the game being what I would call an RPG, even a beginner's RPG, there really isn't much of an inventory for you to collect. There's like 3 hats that you can buy in the entire game, and that's it. No armor, no capes. Not even a legit way to buy non-healing cards, just that casino-style random card generator, which I really do not like, especially since you lose your money if the machine draws a card that you've already maxed out. You just get nothing. The game screws you out of 20 pennies or whatever it is. I'd prefer the option to just buy specific cards instead. They could have easily balanced the costs for the good ones to prohibit players from loading up on them and then just cheesing boss fights. Speaking of inventory, there isn't a single treasure chest or quest rewarded item in the entire game, which leaves players with little incentive to actually explore. There's literally no point. You either are taking the correct path to the next plot point or you aren't. The lack of healing options is a real pain. Your only options to recover health, besides the random and frankly very infrequent enemy drops, are advancing the plot, talking to Professor Steam, who's not always around, finding the lone tomato plant in the entire game in Ratville, or using a consumable item. There are no refill fountains of any kind, and the save point guide doesn't help you with health either. And this is not the easiest or safest game in the world for hitting enemies, as your normal attack has a tiny hit range and almost no knockback, and throwing your hat is restricted to 8 directions. It does get a little bit better when you get the hat that kind of waves back and forth, and especially when you get the one that homes on enemies, so the 8 directions doesn't matter as much towards the end of the game, but it still kind of affects things. Frankly, they dogged the US audience in regards to how much you can recover your health in this game. Boss fights, while I do appreciate their overall design variety, rely heavily on, at least towards the end of the game, on just running straight at Spike to do contact damage. And he can't move fast enough to get away. That is a cheap tactic, and it's a design of poor balance. If the rest of your enemy's attacks aren't good enough to slow down the player, make them do more damage. Don't rely on unavoidable hits to do the bulk of your dirty work. Enemy drops in general are way too low, and considering how expensive the few buyable items in the game are, it needed to be more generous with money. The camera system was smart in theory, panning to show more of the area ahead of the player, but in execution it felt very jarring and sluggish to respond to player movement. Frankly, keeping the screen centered on the player would have worked just fine. The characters were small enough and moved slow enough that players could easily respond to an impending attack if he was dead center on the screen. Level design towards the end of the game felt completely rushed. I didn't mind the jungle maze portion of the game, but the final dungeon is literally a straight path to 2 bosses. It felt like they ran out of time to finish the game, just made Castle Von Hesler a straight line to the boss and said, good enough, ship it. I'll never understand design like that. Let your team finish what they started. Don't push them to ship before they're done. I think it becomes blaringly obvious when you have a level as complex and branching as the very first two areas of the game, the castle in your home kingdom in Batland, and then the path just going to Ratville. As huge and as sprawling and as many different paths as you could take on those two areas, why would you make the final dungeon just a straight line? It was awful. It was very clear that they had to finish the game and ship it, and they just said, screw it. Don't even bother with all this extraneous crap. Just have a straight line to the boss. As far as the ugly, Spike really needed a run button in this game. Even if it had to be tethered with like a stamina meter, just something to move around faster when you need to get back to the shop or a save point. The text boxes are too small, which makes reading dialogue very slow and stilted. Granted, the original Japanese kanji characters probably conveyed way more information in the same space. I don't see why the text boxes needed to be so tiny. They have space for about 5 words total. There were a few awkward spots in the dialogue where it was clear the localizer couldn't figure out what to say in an extended dialogue sequence, and they just reiterated the same point multiple times. We saw an issue like this in Chrono Trigger, where multiple people seem to be repeating the same point, sometimes multiple times. In a time where localization, nowadays, is often criticized for the localizer injecting personal politics or commentary where it doesn't belong, these repetitious bits would be an instance where something would have been better than what we actually got. Specifically, I'm talking about that sequence when we first got to the area where Camelia took over. I think it was Mount Vampira. And Rudy fell asleep in the previous area. And it seems like they just kept doing this circular conversation where it's like, hey, Rudy would be like, hey, why'd you guys leave me behind? Well, you fell asleep. Yeah, we wanted to wake you up, but we wanted to keep moving. Maybe you should stay here. Yeah, I'm pretty tired, but why'd you leave me behind? Because you fell asleep. And it just kept going in a circle over and over and over. It was not good dialogue. I also would have liked a picture on screen to indicate who was talking. I don't think the different sounds were a clear enough guide to what character was talking at any given moment. And plenty of times when I was trying to do voices for the different characters, I was guessing who was talking, and more often than not, I was wrong. Because the placement of the dialogue box didn't make it clear who was talking. They really screwed the pooch on that one. An on-screen meter for your experience level would have been nice. I know you can just look up the number on the pause screen, but a little 1 or 2 pixel tall bar underneath your health box would not have made a huge mess of the screen. They gave players a jump button, and I really don't know why. You don't have very many platforming challenges in the game. Jumping rarely dodges a regular attack from an enemy, and enemies can be hit from the ground all the time. There's never a time where jumping to hit an enemy is required. They probably should have tied your hat throw to that button instead. And while we're on the subject, you have 4 face buttons, and you only map actions to 3 of them. There should not be a charge-up attack like your hat throw. Just map the attack to an extra button. You had one, and you didn't use it. Didn't make any sense. All right, let's go ahead and give the game a final score. We do our score in Randars, 1 to 10. Technically, I never owned this game when I was younger. I actually bought it a few years ago thinking that this was a lost gem, and I regretted not buying it when I was younger. Believe me, it wasn't cheap either. A used copy of this ran me about $200. Having played it to completion, honestly, it feels kind of hollow. I'm giving this game a 6. 6 Randars. The story is nothing special to write home about, unfortunately, and that's a shame because the world and the characters that inhabit it aren't used to their full potential. Moments where a great gag or some meaningful dialogue between family or friends would help propel the story either weren't there or they didn't land. Again, the game was aimed at a younger audience. But I remember a Care Bear movie coming out in the 1980s that really nailed an emotional arc in the final moments. So kids can handle a story with some depth. The lack of a meaningful inventory really hurts the game's depth, and the dungeons ended up feeling empty without anything to look for. And frankly, there was an aggressive level curve to this game that even kids would be hard-pressed to put up with, especially when death pushes players back to the last time they saved. and they really needed to put more save points in if that was the penalty for dying, especially in a kid's game. 6 Randars. I can see why the developer wanted to turn the characters into their mascots. Their design has a certain charm to them. But the game they start in was just too shallow an experience to continue as a franchise without major changes to the leveling system, inventory, combat flow, and story. I just don't think this game had the juice, and I can see why it died off after this. They made 2 games in Japan. We got one of them, and it was clear from that one game there just wasn't enough to continue as a franchise. So yeah, 6 Randars. I think this was a pretty forgettable experience. All right, since this is a Nubs RPG Wednesday, we have one final question that we ask at the end. Is The Twisted Tales of Spike McFang worth your time to play through in 2025? Pretty easy answer on this one. No. The unique world that they crafted is not capitalized on with a satisfying plot. The game requires grinding for experience in between dungeons, even if you literally fight every single enemy you come across, often with very few meaningful drops like money or health. And while the graphics are a high point for the game, the music is nothing special. There is not a single earworm across the entire soundtrack. This would be a hard game to recommend to anyone that valued their playtime. I just don't think it rewards the time investment. The games with sprawling dungeons that don't reward exploration are almost begging to be ignored. Save yourself the time and money and pass on this one. There's better action, adventure, RPG style games out there. This is pretty forgettable, and it's a shame. I think they had something that they really could have made a great, unique game experience out of, and they dropped the ball. Probably why no one knows who Naxat Software or Red Company is in 2025. I honestly don't know if they've made another game after this. I certainly wouldn't know it if you had told me that they had made the game. So that's going to do it for our extended look / complete playthrough. I can't speak anymore of The Twisted Tales of Spike McFang. As always, I do appreciate each of you watching, and I will see you next time.